You read the title. Let's get into it. How I speak authentically for 1 hour on camera without a script. Now, I've been making YouTube videos daily for the past 21 days, and they're completely raw style, very minimal editing, no notes, no script, just complete authentic stream of consciousness. And I've been getting comments on my ability to do this. So I've decided I'm going to teach you how to do this. So if you run a business and you need to make content and you're putting things into the world and you need to put a message into the world, if you can turn on your camera and just speak and get a point across, it's going to speed up your workflow. It's going to make people connect with you more. It's going to make people believe you, and you're going to give off a more authentic energy because you can't edit yourself. And you're going to be able to lap people in terms of the amount of content you can put out because your process has shortened. I don't like to script things, guys. I've done videos with scripts. They performed well, but they take too long. You write the script and then you look over the script and then you try and do some chat GPT thing and then it's garbage. And then you go and revamp the script again, and then you put the script on a teleprompter and you're pressing the teleprompter thing and you have to juggle the teleprompter thing while looking at the camera and still using your hands and being engaging. And I can't bother with it. I don't want to do it. This works better. So in this video, I'm going to break it down into 3 parts: spiritual, mental, and physical, because, I use universal laws for everything. And I'm going to teach you how to communicate with no script, authentically, on camera. So let's start with spiritual. Also, I should mention, the only reason there might be a cut in this video is because my camera only records for half an hour. So like and subscribe so Seth can buy a new camera. Thanks. But let's start with spiritual. Being a spiritual being is someone who lives within their highest values. When you live within your highest values, you are being your authentic self. You are being who you actually want to be. You are doing what you actually care about. So my top values are business, family, teaching, and wealth creation. YouTube allows me to do many of these things. So YouTube, as I put out content, is good for my business because people find out about me, find out how I can help them, and then I get clients and I make some money. It also allows me to teach because I love to teach. I'm an educator. This isn't an interesting facts channel, even though you'll learn some interesting facts. I get to teach, which I love to do. It also assists with wealth creation because it assists my business, which assists my wealth creation, which helps my family. So YouTube allows me to execute and live out all 4 of my top values. And I will only talk about things that I value. This video is to assist you in your communication because it's going to help you make more money. It's going to help you earn more in business, in life, in your career, because I value that. I'm not going to go over here and tell you about some crypto scam or some gambling scam or some other nonsense, even though it could get views and make me a whole bunch of money. It doesn't fit with my values, so I don't make that content. The other thing about spirituality and living out your values is that you have a purpose, mission, and vision when you are living out your values. So YouTube is about far more than just getting famous or having customers and making some money. It's about carrying out my purpose. And my purpose is to help people earn money through personal magnetism and the laws of the universe, and allow more people to access entrepreneurship and financial independence. I built a mission of that to assist as many people as I can with that. So it's more important to me than just money and fame. And when it's more important to you than that, you show up with a different sort of inspired energy. And that inspired energy translates through the camera to other people. You have something called life force. Some people have no life force, guys, because they don't do what they care about. So on a spiritual level, if you're going to show up and you're going to talk and you're going to want to get customers and clients and put a message into the world, you're going to need to tap into what you value and tap into your purpose, your mission, and your vision. So that's the spiritual side. On the mental plane, the first thing I do mentally is I do not talk about anything I don't have personal experience with. The furthest stretch I've had in terms of not my own personal experience is when I talk about billionaires. But I know somebody basically on the way to being a billionaire. In the next year or two, he will be a billionaire. So he's essentially a billionaire. So that's the furthest stretch, but there's still a personal level to it. The reason I only speak about things I have personal experience with is because you don't have to think about telling the truth. When you know something actually happened in your life, you don't have to ruminate and think about it and overthink because you know what happened. You know it's real. Like I said before, this is not an interesting facts channel. If it's interesting facts, I have to remember all the history facts and the, strange, funny animal facts. I have to remember all of that. I already remember the truth, which allows me to just simply speak about it. So that's probably my number one thing that makes this whole process easier. Because there's something called declarative knowledge and there's something called procedural knowledge. Declarative knowledge is just your ability to say stuff. 1 + 1 = 2. But have you experienced picking up one pencil and picking up another pencil and having two pencils? Now you have procedural knowledge of math. You understand? I'm not only in the realm of declarative knowledge. I want to be in the realm of procedural knowledge. Things I have actually done because I am teaching, particularly things about money and about communication. And if I haven't done those things, why would someone believe me and trust me and buy from me? When you have procedural knowledge about something, because you've experienced it, you have depth. And when you have depth, you have wisdom. And people understand that you've actually done this, so they can trust you more to purchase something from you to help them. So that's probably one of the most important factors. Secondly, when I make a point about something, I aim to have a personal story to follow up with it. So I got a comment the other day. Somebody said, Seth is pretty young, but he has so many stories and has lived so much life. That's because I don't want to make a point I don't have a story about. Once again, it goes back to only speaking about what I've experienced. And here's the thing. I have a mentor. His name's Lewis. And he has a protocol for people to remember things, a memory protocol. And a lot of that memory training has to do with stories. You can list off a bunch of facts, and you've seen these videos. By the time they get to fact 3, you're like, wait, what was fact 1 again? But if they tell you a story, you remember the story because our brain is wired to remember stories. We've been telling stories since we could speak. There's stories on the caves, the first men. We're geared for this. So if I tell a story to make a point, you're going to remember it far more than if I just give you a fact. Some of you are subscribed to me watching this, and you've likely heard me tell my story, and you know it, and you remember it. But you might not remember all kind of facts I may have said in another video, but you remember my story. And that's an authentic connection that sticks in someone's head. So that guy who commented, like, Seth has a lot of stories, of course, because I'm actively looking in my mind for them when I make a point. Right? Now, the third mental thing I do is, this might be third or fourth. I think it's third. Yeah. I accept where I need to improve, or at least I think I need to improve. I just noticed myself do something earlier. I said right at the end of a sentence. And when I get going, I can tend to do that. I could be da da da, right? Blah, 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 right? Da da da, right? The problem with that is it makes your sentences have less impact. So I'm aware of that, and it's something I work on. You need to be aware of where you can improve. You need to analyze your communication. So let's say you shot a video and you're speaking. I want you to analyze that video, and you're going to analyze it in 4 ways. You're going to watch the video. You're going to see the video, and you're going to see the audio together. You're going to watch it. And you're going to see, okay, how did I do? Then you're going to watch it with the sound off, just video, and you'll notice things. So one thing I noticed is that I tend to do this thing here with my fingers here like this. And it's because I'm like charging up the next point. But it can come off like almost like a nervous twitch, almost like a nervousness. So I wouldn't have noticed that if I didn't watch myself with the sound off. The next way you analyze and observe yourself is listen to it. No video, only audio. And then you'll pick up on your cadence and your rhythm and your speed. And if you pause for impact, what register is your voice in? You're going to notice all these things. That's how I noticed the right. That's how I noticed that, because I was listening to it. I only had to rely on one sense, which allowed me to pay more attention. And the final way you're going to want to analyze, if you upload a video to YouTube and you use the transcript function, you can get the words, the transcript of your video. And you will notice, are you super repetitive? Do you say the same things over and over? What do you do? That will help you analyze it as well. Now, that was a little tangent to get me to what I was talking about in point 3. I also accept the fact that I might ramble. I accept the fact that I might get into a spat of something and might go off on tangents and might bring in excess information to make more of a point. And I accept that and I work on it. People often ramble because they're nervous. They're worried about things, and they're worried about how they're being perceived, and they don't remember what they're talking about, and they're not being authentic, so they ramble. I ramble because I got too much things in my head to share. But once again, it's something I work on. But I accept and appreciate that it's something that can happen, and I'm getting better at it. The next mental plane thing I do is I have a plan. I plan what I'm going to speak about, and I hold it in my mind. So there's a book, very good book, called Storyworthy by Matthew Dix. And Matthew is a phenomenal storyteller. He did these competitions called The Moth, hosted by Dan Kennedy, and essentially like stand-up comedy, but for stories. So people would tell stories and they would crown a champion. And he won like 35 Moth slams or something like that, which is like the most out of anybody. He really killed it. And he wrote a book called Storyworthy. And in that book, he talks about storytelling. And one of the things he talks about is do not script your story, because people can tell and it won't come off authentic. It comes off boring. Instead, look at the story like a movie and understand your scenes. Now, if you're teaching online like I do and you're doing education-based things, this is why you need to have depth, because you're not necessarily looking at the scenes of a story. You're looking at points that you want to make. You're looking at facts that you want to explain. So you need depth about this so that when you see, oh, I have this point to make, that you already know a whole bunch to talk about. Because like I said before, only talk about things you have experience with. How we have depth on all the points. So you got to plan it out. Now, it can take you some time possibly to hold enough things in your mind that you can see the plan in your head, but you get better at it. Maybe instead of holding 5 points in your head, you do a video where you just hold 3 points in your head and expand upon those. And sometimes I might have some points I want to make and I miss one. And it's okay. I still let the video go on. I wasn't meant to say it that day. So plan mentally. You need a structure. You need to still know what you're doing. So there's some mental tricks. Also, actually, this is a big mental trick. Not even a trick. It's a big mental frame. You see, when you're younger, you care a lot more about what people think of you. And as you get older, you start to care less and less about what people think of you most of the time. You can actually speed up this process of not caring what people think so you can actually show up and say what you want to say by canceling out your shames and resentments and guilts from the past. And I talk about this in a lot of videos. You have to cancel out the charges of shame from your past because they're subconscious and they're preventing you from shining your real authentic light into the world. And they're making you overthink what you need to say because you're worried, oh, if I say it this way, are they going to make fun of me? Are they going to leave a bad comment? Is my mom going to say something about this? You're thinking about all this crap, all these past shames and fears and guilts, which project fear into the future, which make you overthink, which makes you nervous, which makes you ramble, which makes you run into all the problems that you're running into currently. So you have to dispel that. And in my Aura Academy cohort, this is one of the things we're going to do. So you see how I show up on camera, I speak, I use as much energy and magnetism as I can, and I get a message across totally raw, no script, and connect with the people who want what I have and want to learn what I do. I'm going to teach you how to do this same thing in my Aura Academy cohort, which is happening in January. So there's a wait list. The link is in the description below. If you're interested in that and want to do what I do and communicate like this, no script, totally raw, go check it out. I'll be I'll be running it in January. Now, let's get to the physical realm of things. Actual physical things you can do in your speech. The physical realm starts before the video is ever shot. Let me just check my time for my camera. We might have to make a cut, guys. I was just being safe. Want to make sure that I don't run out of time while I'm making a point and making something happen. Physical realm. The first thing I do is actually get out of my mind and into my body. So what I'll do is I'll kind of walk around the room and say what I'm going to talk about, but I'm moving. So I'm moving my hands and I'm walking and I might stretch a bit and get into my body. Why is this? You are an electrobiochemical being. You have electricity running through you. If you know anything about magnetism, magnetism has to do with electricity. Some people have very weak electrical fields, very weak aura. The electric energy in them is very stale. But you can get renewed electric energy within you when you get into your body, when you stretch, when you exercise and work out. You invite new electric energy in and expel the stale energy. When you wake up, you yawn and you stretch because your body is getting all the tension out of your muscles, which is stale, compressed tension, which makes you tight and uncomfortable. It increases your blood flow and it gets you ready for movement. When you do all of this, you're more electric. And you hear people define people like this. Oh, that performance was electric. Oh, he's a magnetic person. Using electricity to describe somebody. So I try and get some new electricity running through my body, through my nervous system. And I don't even like the word nervous system because it uses the word nervous, which makes you nervous to show up. I use the electric system, and I'm going to be talking about this more in the cohort. I use the electric system, the electricity in my body to get things across. So move a bit. And speaking about that too, if you are more fit, you are going to speak better. One, you're going to be more confident in yourself, more certain in yourself. You're going to look better, so you're going to feel better, and that's going to come across. But also, speaking requires your entire body. The sound that you hear is due to resonation, vibration through your whole body, your chest, your diaphragm, your face, your vocal cords, even the way your feet are placed on the ground have an effect on how you sound. So you might notice this. If you see somebody who was very, very overweight at one point and how they spoke, they might be out of breath and they might wheeze when they speak, or their speech sounds more muffled, and then they lose weight and it's totally different. They're not wheezing. They're not gasping for breath when they talk. They sound different. It's literally because the sound resonating through them is different. So fitness will actually help your communication. It's another reason why I work out, because it helps me with my values. It helps my business. I don't like to work out. I talk about this in lots of videos. I don't like to work out, but it's good for my business. Okay? So yeah, get out of your mind and into your body and get that electricity going. The next thing you want to do is speak from your diaphragm. Now, I come from the music industry as a singer, so I've had some vocal training. So I've learned how to use my voice and how to speak. But essentially, you want to speak from your diaphragm. You don't want to speak from your throat, because if you speak from your throat, you're going to get a sore throat if you speak for too long. You need to breathe and speak on the exhale. Now, if you're nervous, it's hard for you to breathe. And you're nervous because a bunch of the other things we spoke about. You're not speaking from your values and what's authentic to you and your purpose, mission, and vision. You're not using things that you've actually experienced in life. You don't have stories that relate to it. So you get nervous and you overthink. And then that messes up your breathing and you can't speak properly. So breathe from your diaphragm. One way to do this is to breathe in and then make this sound. Shh. And do that until you start running out of breath, and push your arms in the side and keep doing it until you're totally out of breath. And when you breathe back in, your stomach's going to expand naturally. That expansion is your diaphragm. So get used to that feeling. And that's where you speak from. That's where you get power from. If you want to sound like you have more authority, you need to speak from your diaphragm. You need to speak from a grounded position. Speaking about that, you want to speak with your lowest comfortable register. You don't want to be like, what was her name again? Whatever Holmes, something Holmes, Emma Holmes or something like that, who ran that scam company called Theranos. She spoke like this because she read a study somewhere that if you speak with a lower voice, people will take you more seriously. And she just sounded completely stupid, and it was completely fake and inauthentic because she never used to talk like that. She spoke more feminine. She sounded like a woman, but she read some study, projected somebody else's values into her head, and decided to talk like this while she was scamming people. Don't do that. Speak from your lowest comfortable register, because it's going to give you more power and it's going to make you come off with more authority. Is that it in terms of speaking? I think that's it in terms of actually speaking. No, another physical realm thing. Speak with your body, particularly your hands. Why is this? The brain pays a lot of attention to the face of somebody and their hands. Why? Because for survival, you needed to see someone's hands to see if they had a weapon or to see if their fist was balled to hurt you. So if you can see someone's hands, you're going to trust them more. And there's all kind of amazing things you can do with your hands to frame things in people's mind and to put things into people's head and to project energy. A lot of things you can do with your hands. So pay attention to your body. Also pay attention to where your eyes are. Making eye contact with the camera is important. Now, you don't want to just be, so today we're talking about fitness and we're talking about communication, and you're being creepy, bro. That's not how this operates. People in regular conversation, they look around, they look to the sides, etc. And once again, analysis is really important. So when I'm looking at myself on camera, I noticed that I used to look down a lot to think. I used to look down a lot. But that doesn't come off with as much energy and as much power. It's like, why is he looking down all the time? It's not that I'm unconfident. It's that that's where I was thinking. So you might notice now, I look to my left more when I'm thinking. And it's actually a common thing, particularly in the West, because we read left to right and we see time left to right. I'm not sure if in other cultures, when they think of the past, they look to the right. So when people look to the past, they look up and to the left, usually. So when I'm doing that, I'm drawing from something in my life. Now, when people look to the right, usually they're looking to the future, or they're looking at something more abstract, or they're explaining something more abstract, and sometimes they're lying. But you can't necessarily determine exactly what someone is doing or thinking just from where their eyes move. You have to see a baseline of their body language. But that's a totally different thing that has to do with persuasion and psychology and seeing people's behavior. But be aware of what you're doing with your body. Another thing too is you want to speak chest on, as in you want your chest facing the camera. Sometimes I'm at an angle. I'm being cool. I'm doing my thing sometimes. But I aim to be chest on, because when you're speaking to somebody, the person you're interested in, your chest usually faces them. So ladies, next time you're at the club and some guy is talking to your friends, look where his chest is. Because if it's pointed to you, he's actually interested in you. And he's talking to your friends to butter them up so they don't try and cock block him when he goes to talk to you. So it's a little trick. But I would say those are my physical realm techniques in terms of communication. Ultimately, if you want to speak without a script, you need to speak from your values. You need to speak about things you've actually experienced and that you have depth on. And you need to be comfortable enough to be within your body. And that's that. I'll see y'all in the Aura Academy cohort and see you in the next video. Peace.